And now a big round of applause for Dianna Russini. She's going to be coming in probably, 30 seconds? Or she's on. So big round of applause for our first guest on the live show, Dianna Russini. Yo, what's up with the blue background?
I kind of felt like I needed to be more professional. The bookshelf's so, the bookshelf was like, hi, I'm trying to be smart, I'm trying to be important. This is just like, nothing's distracting. It's just,
dude,
you just got purple by me.
Long time no see. Congrats on the gig. I know we talked a little bit about that. I hope you're enjoying it. And I know now's the time where you're a real hot commodity around here. There's a lot of trade talk, a lot of coaches talking, coaches getting fired and all that sort of stuff. So we got a lot to dig in with Dianna. Where should we start? What's your favorite story?
Oh my gosh. First, let's just start with the last time I saw you two together. You were with the Eagles. Kyle, you were obviously with the Bears. You guys were playing against each other. That was one of the wildest divisional games I've ever covered.
Oh, double doink.
Oh, I remember that game.
Double doink. Sidelined. I have video clips of you two being very, very emotional after that game. That was.
We got to get those.
Yeah, I would love those.
You know what? I'll send them.
Yeah, because you're insider at the Athletic, so you do have some inside videos, some behind the scenes stuff.
You got pull.
I do. You're not supposed to even be shooting on the sideline actually with your own camera during the game. It's like illegal. When I was at ESPN, I was like, yeah, whatever, and I would just
you got to toe
clip
that line.
Yeah. Well, I didn't toe the line actually, Kyle, at all. I just did it. So anyway, I have these great clips of you guys, and I do think you'll really appreciate it because they're better than the TV
I appreciate
copy.
you giving Kyle a couple years to get over that loss before you send them.
Thanks, Dianna.
By that I mean like a half decade. Hey, Dianna, I'll start with the Jets because I feel like that's the thing we've been talking about the longest. It looks like the Jets are just going to ride this thing out. How much of it has to do with Minnesota's unwillingness and Kirk's unwillingness more so to move? And I don't blame him, honestly.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Let's just start with the Jets. They've been so consistent on this Zach Wilson belief and confidence since Aaron Rodgers went down. And, you try to poke holes in it when you're like, okay, just don't give me the company line. Tell me what the real plan is. And it was hard to find anyone that was willing to go, yeah, we're actually thinking about calling Minnesota. They never called Minnesota from what I know, and Minnesota never called them. They have been all in on Zach Wilson, and the kind of game you saw them playing last night against the Eagles is really what they've been looking to do. They had the same kind of game against the Patriots as well. Just sloppy, keep the game close. And look, Nathaniel Hackett is learning Zach Wilson as well. And he's figured out how to change his game plan from Aaron Rodgers' strength at a graduate level, we'll call it, to simplifying it and playing into Zach's strength. So that's where I think it's working for them. And obviously after a win like last night, they're all in now on Zach. So let's talk about the Viking side of it. Look, guys, the three of us are the perfect people to ask. None of us want to move ever, right?
No,
you have a family, your roots are set. You've got two little boys, I spent some time with Kirk in the summer and he just seems happy, man. I've covered Kirk forever and I've seen him when he's miserable. He's not miserable. He likes Minnesota. He likes this offense. He loves Kevin O'Connell. So it would make no sense for him to waive this trade clause. And Minnesota doesn't want to get rid of him. Chris, I think there's a chance Minnesota may even be having conversations about keeping Kirk in the building past this year.
Wow.
Potentially drafting a rookie, but I think ideally they would like to have Kirk in there, be that sort of in-between quarterback.
Yeah.
And then get a rookie in there.
What we saw with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes.
It's so interesting because Dianna makes a great point.
Right?
That's exactly this week I woke up and it's like when things happen, you automatically are like, okay, just make the trade. Just do it, right? We're all like, just do it. It's simple. But he's got the clause, and if you look at his career, he's going to be up next year. He still wants to make more money. You lose a little bit of your control when you go somewhere new. And maybe for him, as exciting as it is to get him to New York, it's that's not so exciting to him. I like working with Kevin, not Nathaniel Hackett. I got Justin Jefferson here who's hurt now and that sort of thing. But I'm comfortable. You saw me on that quarterback TV show. My family has roots here. I think it makes a lot of sense. But for Minnesota, let me ask you this, Dianna. What do you think the chances of Danielle Hunter being traded are? And I know KJ Osborne has been thrown around, Harrison Smith, important guys to them, but where they are right now, I especially think Hunter, you should get something for him.
Yeah, Hunter, if there's anyone from Minnesota that I think would move, it would be him. I think he's the only one there that's getting, we'll call it, interests from a significant amount of teams around the league. But in terms of a team that is busy on the phone right now, it's Denver, right? Like they're the team that is in a completely different space than Minnesota. Minnesota's not giving up on they're not in that headspace at all.
Right.
They've been rebuilding and retooling, but I don't get the sense that they're like, this is a mess. I mean, you take away, you get rid of some of those turnovers, and we're talking about a Minnesota team like last year. They're on pace. Their offense is on pace for like record-setting stats. So they think they still got something good, and we'll see when JJ gets back. If they can make a little push here.
How about the tush push? Because it's everybody's favorite thing to talk about. My take is be better at it. Like if everybody else wants to complain about it, like the other teams have tried it, have not been able to do it. So it's a skill, not a cheat code. But now the NFL has said, and I think I read this right, that they're worried about the optics of it. Like it's just ugly. Well, are they going to take the Falcons off the field? Like, are we not allowed to? Falcons can't play football anymore? Like, what's going on here? It's too ugly for the NFL?
Yeah.
We love this stuff.
Get rid of some ugly players, ugly coaches too.
Yeah.
His face is busted.
Yeah, that dude's busted.
That's what we should do. We should do a top 5 list of ugliest
ugly
people
things.
in the NFL.
No, don't do it. Don't do it, because usually the guys that are the ugliest, they could probably beat me up. I don't want to say. I don't want to do that list.
Yeah, you two are very, very far from that list.
But what gives, Dianna?
Yeah, so I think that alarm, we'll call it, of, we got to ban this thing. That started, I mean, the conversation's been kind of happening, the whispers for weeks now, every time we see the Eagles do it. But I know Schefter reported it before, Sunday morning of last week. And so I just put out some feelers of like, are they really going to try to eliminate this thing because of that? And everyone's like, no one is taking it that seriously. There are some people in the league office that had that sentiment of what you just said, that they think it's ugly, right? But the competition committee does not feel that way about it. Even when it came up last year, it was so, in terms of the list of, the agenda of things that they cared about, it was so on the bottom, like, well, whatever, let's move along. And that seems to be the tone from some of the people and members that I've spoken to, over the last week or so. So I just think it's one of those topics that people just like to talk about right now. And you're right. Just figure out a way to stop it.
League office evaluating the Patriots offense. And, just go down the list. Sanction those guys. One that's really interesting to me. Okay, like we saw, it's interesting because the two teams are playing each other. It had me thinking Baltimore, I think, has to make a move for somebody at some point, whether it's a running back or a better wide receiver, like to give them another piece. What if you're looking at running backs, and maybe it's not just for Baltimore. I threw out names like Derrick Henry because that train's been going a while, and it doesn't seem like you're in the place where you can use him. Spears is getting more touches. Saquon, like, he's going to rot there. Are there top dollar kind of like blue chip running backs who actually might get moved to one of these teams?
Can really just apply.
Okay, Dianna Russini cut out. We got her back. Dianna, you could start off with that running back question again.
Yeah, I was just breaking a huge story and it cut out. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, really? I was like, okay, break it here. Break it here.
There's going to be a Monday where I pop on here and I'm going to try to hold a story for you guys, and we'll try to do it right here. Like, we'll just say, awesome. Even if it's not that big, I just think it'll be cool.
We like small stories too.
Break it down.
Yeah.
No, we'll do a big one. We'll do it big. We'll do it
all. Didn't I break
then,
your retirement, which was a pretty big story? Kyle?
You did. Kyle, Chris he gave me nothing on it, right? I am so loyal. Chris could like yell on this show right now. Dianna Russini's family is the worst. They're the worst people in the world. I hate them all. And I'd still be like, I love Chris Long. I'd do anything for him. Right. and we've had this great friendship for years now. And I'm like, hey man, I'm just like this like scrappy, hardworking reporter trying to make a name for myself at ESPN. No one knows who the hell I am. And Kyle, I'm like, is Kyle retiring? He's like, don't know.
I didn't know.
Tweets it.
I didn't know. It actually broke like 3 minutes before I tweeted. Kyle was like, yep, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But like,
I tried to sneak back in so nobody noticed.
I'm sorry about that, Diana. I also phased out like my boys at Pardon My Take. I just couldn't tell anybody. This is my one big story. You would have cucked me on that. You would have took that story and you would have gone right to the press with it, and I would have been like, Diana, you can't come on the show now. You took my one.
No, I'm really. You know how much I hold. It is infuriating. By the way, that's not like a flex. I know so much.
Yeah. What are you holding on to?
Yeah, what are you holding on to? No, what do you think with the running back? So you think is there one? Are you holding on to something with Saquon? Are you holding on to something with Derrick Henry here?
Look, let's just go back to when Saquon, all the drama this offseason with him. Joe Shane pretty much showed his cards on how he feels about running backs, right? Like we know how he feels. I think if it was up to Joe alone, I think we would see movement of Saquon, right? But ownership values him. He's the face of the franchise. You guys know I live in New Jersey. It's Giants land here. And now Jets, of course, because, everyone here is just traitor. Since they beat the Eagles now. Ownership just, they love Saquon. And the Giants really don't have a face. So I don't see that getting the sign off from ownership. But
that's just wild. It's wild.
I know.
These owners, they get crushes on players, and then it's like, I like this player so much, I'm going to get him killed. Like he's just going to be the whole offense here, and I'm going to get him killed. Okay.
The Derrick Henry thing is, you're right about that. Like I don't know who's going to be in the business of going after Derrick Henry. I don't know what the price would be for him. You got to figure a third rounder for Derrick Henry right now, right?
I'm coughing that up if I'm a contender. I'm coughing that up if I'm the Chiefs, if I'm the Ravens, and I don't want to say the Ravens are contenders necessarily, but I'm coughing that up. This guy's got one good year in him for sure.
Let's use it.
Use it.
Diana, I want to ask you a question about a team that stands out to me so much on one side of the ball, and that's the Cleveland Browns. And I know they've got a situation at the quarterback position that's been in the news a lot lately. What have you heard lately from Deshaun with his shoulder, with ownership, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's one of these stories that when you're gathering information, it seemed very cut and dry to me. I was like, okay, this is what's happening. But then I started to go on Twitter, which is the devil. And I'm like, oh, wait, there's like a narrative out there that people think he doesn't want to play. So from the information I have, it was basically Stefanski kind of misspoke a little. Yes, Deshaun was medically cleared. But in terms of the pain he was dealing with, that was still there. I had another head coach from another team say to me, well, why does he just get it shot up? Like he'd be fine. And so I think that narrative is kind of circling him. But people I spoke to, and I dug on that one over the weekend, they all were like, look, he is trying to get back. This isn't, and even like some of his teammates were telling me, like, he's done everything to try to get back. This isn't like some weird, where he's just being soft. So it's like a bruised rotator cuff. It's just throwing arm. And look, he's the franchise. They're not gonna take any big risk. And with this defense, they have that luxury, right?
No question.
And we all know how the meeting goes. If you get banged up. I remember we were playing against New England, and I met Hightower in the hole, Dante Hightower, who was a monster, and you're not supposed to hit him. So my shoulder didn't agree with it. I remember I separated my AC. I went in and I got evaluated, and they were like, "Oh, this is a 1 week, 2 week deal. You're going to wear a brace." Yeah. I went and I got a second opinion, and they were like 4 to 6.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you always double it.
Each of these situations, Deshaun going to get his own opinion, Deshaun having the right as an athlete and a human being to say, I'm not ready to go. I think there should be no argument.
It's also interesting, and we'll let Diana sign off after this, but I just like for teams when they put out an expectation, it's always interesting to read what the expected timeline is, because as a player, I always realized they're saying something there. They're not just doing it because they have to. Yeah. They're oftentimes putting that out there as like to put pressure on you, the player. even though you might not even know what the real timeline is yet, they slap that 4 to 6 on there, and all of a sudden it's week 5 and people are looking at you and they play into that pressure. So
he's played hurt before. It's not something he hasn't
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yes, and a point that was made to me from someone with the Browns was like, don't you think if it was more serious, we'd have put him on IR?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like,
I
so I think it's just figuring out the pain tolerance. There's no structural damage, and we'll see how he goes this week. But
well, that's great. We finally had a guest on here, and it's the one we wanted, Dianna Russini. So senior.
Wait, am I really your first guest?
Yeah, it's you and Jeff Fisher. So as soon as I can get Coach Fisher on here, he'll be the other one. But yeah, we've been in negotiations with a couple guests here, and one of them happens to be the senior NFL insider at The Athletic, which is a publication that I read all the time. Even though I lose my passwords all the time. Maybe you can help me with that.
Thank you so much, Dianna. Great talking to you.
Appreciate you, Dianna.
Guys, I know. Guys, keep up those great videos you post on social of just random hot takes in your refrigerators and under the tables. And
appreciate it.
You guys are I love it. We're all in parenting hell together. So congrats on everything, guys.
Yeah, congrats to you and your growing family. That's awesome.
Thanks, Dianna.
All right, Dianna.
Bye,
see you.
Thanks.